All right. Hello, everybody. We are live. Just give me a couple seconds here. I'm going to share this into the customer group, and then we are going to get ready to rock. I get that positioned correctly for you. All right, everyone. We are going to have Chris Miller coming on in just a second. Here we go. Guys, this is a very, oh, there he is.
Joey, how are you?
I'm fantastic, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Guy, I am just going to, whilst I talk, let's see if I can multitask here. I'm going to also share this into our Keto Life customer group coming up in 1 second, and then we are going to get this thing going. So listen, for everybody watching, sorry, I'm not looking at the camera here, but I'm typing away. What we're going to be doing tonight is something very special. The man that you see on your screen here needs no introduction, really, but I'm going to introduce him anyways because I like to brag about him a little bit. And so this guy, literally, if you go look up the word holistic in the dictionary, you see a picture of and here's what I mean. Literally, talking about education, right? Chris has literally, one of the most educated guys, especially in this topic, but on many other ones that you'll talk to. He's got 5 degrees, and he's a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, but all the way down to medieval history. I don't know how that fits into our whole fitness talk tonight, but I'm sure that it's been a great experience for you. You'll have to tell me about that someday. But then look at over a dozen certs in all different modalities of health and fitness. And there we go. I think we should be live in the customer group now. So a dozen different certs in a whole bunch of different modalities. I'm literally not just a really educated guy, everyone, a guy that has been where a lot of people have been, and that's broken. Sorry, Chris, but free reconstruction, knee reconstructions. Doctors literally told him he wouldn't walk again or wouldn't run properly again. And if anybody has seen any of the stuff that Chris Miller does, he definitely can do a little bit more than run. As well as had a tumor cut out from his sinuses. He was actually blind for 3 months, going to train for 6 months, caused some neurological damage that he didn't know he was going to come back from. And through his knowledge of nutrition and moving his body and becoming this kind of machine about knowing how to combine not only body movements but also health, nutrition, and being so educated on everything, he's basically been able to rebuild himself and now helping loads of other people not just rebuild himself but just take their human optimization to another level. And that's why he now works with people that are just trying to get into health and fitness all the way to Olympic athletes and everything in between. And certainly, if you follow Chris online, you'll find that he is constantly exuding everything that we kind of embody at Prove It, which is just helping people be better versions of themselves, and that means doing it all the time by giving away his knowledge for free just to help other people, and that's what we're doing tonight. So Chris, without further ado,
G'day.
Buddy.
Thanks so much for having me again. I appreciate being here.
No, it's great, man. It's great. And so everybody that's watching, listen, feel free and type in questions if you like. And I'm going to try and, as Chris talks, get in to take note of your questions. And then if we have some time at the end, we're going to try and answer them, as long as I don't blather on too long. But we're going to start. Also, let us know where you're from if you're watching. And if you're watching live, put a 1. If you are watching the recorded version of this, then put a 2. Still let us know where you're watching from. We always like to know. So tonight's topic, Chris, everybody's finishing the reboot. Or if they're watching the recorded version, even if they're not finishing the reboot, a whole ton of people are starting on ketones. They're discovering ketones, discovering Keto Max. And how much different the Prove It ketones are, pure therapeutic ketones, And so we wanted to bring you on to get your top 5 ways with your clients that you are maximizing the usage of Keto OS.
Sure thing. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, look, I do have a few different ways of doing it because everybody's different. And I really try to be diverse in my approach so that it can fit into anybody's lifestyle and in their particular taste, habits, and routine. In doing so, it then becomes a very flexible delivery for this pretty good. Incredible product, I should say. Look, the first one is basically the way that I do it, and that's just the stock standard. You get up first thing in the morning, you have your packet of ketones. For myself as a stay-at-home dad, I have the ketones. I then get the kids ready for school. I do the school run. I come back at about 9 o'clock. By this stage, I've been in ketosis for a couple of hours. I then train from 8:45 through to about 10:15, depending on my day. I'll then film for an hour or two, depending on how much I've got to film for my website. I'll then jump into emails, writing for a couple of hours. I then might break at about 1 or 2, and generally I'll have breakfast then and do an hour of research before just doing the afternoon school run. So I'm sure the parents out there will recognise some of those habits, and that's probably the most effective way. When you're busy in the morning, just getting up, getting it done, getting into ketosis. You're there for a few hours, drink some water, and it really helps you get into that intermittent fasting. And that's a whole another discussion on the benefits it can have. But it makes that a lot more accessible and a lot easier because you've got a ready fuel source for a good 4, 5, 6 hours. 6 hours, just drink water and abstain from carbs during that period, and you're good to go. So that's kind of my general approach for anybody that's interested. That's how I do it, and that's just the most simple way. Option number 2 is for somebody who's a working professional who wants a little bit more fat loss, and who likes to or who can train with fluid or after having consumed food. So basically, they'll get up first thing in the morning, take ketones straight away, and then they would train, and they would train for whatever it is in the morning: running, swimming, yoga, weightlifting, whatever it is. By the time they're sort of halfway through that session, they're going to be deep into ketosis, getting all the benefits, performing well. They then finish up consuming water throughout the morning by abstaining from food post-training. It increases a whole different discussion we could go into about protein synthesis, about muscle signaling, etc., etc. So there's a lot of benefits there to training fasted, putting yourself deep into ketosis, and then abstaining from food for about 5 hours from the time you took your ketones. So your morning meal would be, anywhere at sort of 11 or 12 o'clock sort of thing. That's going to get you training in ketosis. It's going to really help with fat loss and help with your morning routine of just getting to work without having to really get into cooking breakfast and that sort of stuff. Option 3 is for those who can't train with something in their tummy. So for myself, I can get up, I can pretty much eat a big breakfast, and I can go train for a couple of hours and it doesn't bother me. My wife, she'll have a sip of water and she cannot train. If she so much as has half a piece of toast or a cup of tea, she will, be very sick during training. And I know a lot of people like that. So you basically get up, you train fasted, which is a really good way again to increase some fat loss, increase a whole different discussion there on the evolutionary theory of training and working out fasted. And then post training, you then consume the ketones, get ready for work, head off to work, and then have lunch 5 or so hours after you've consumed those ketones. So that is really good, again, for weight loss. Busy working professionals that don't have much time in the morning, those who can't train with fluid in their tummy, and it also helps, like the first 2 methods, assist in getting you into intermittent fasting. It makes that process a lot easier, and that's quite important. So look, I'm just racing through these. There's a whole other sort of list of benefits, but I'm just, cautious of time. So basically option number 4 is all about a 12 and 12 intermittent fasting protocol. So you would get up, you would wake up first thing in the morning and consume a large breakfast. So go for protein, an adequate source of protein, go for a good amount of fats, minimum carbohydrates. I mean, you've just been asleep hopefully for several hours. It's been 12 hours since you previously eaten. So if you then have a big carbohydrate meal, that's going to spark your blood sugars, cause all sorts of things, where if we put protein and fats in there, it just gives you a steady supply of energy throughout the morning. You've got time to sit down and eat. That's great. And then maybe about 3 to 4 hours after that is when you have your ketones. So this is really good for those who trained later in the day. You've consumed your food, and then you might be training at lunchtime. So about 11 o'clock, which will be about 3 to 4 hours after that meal, you will then take your ketones. By the time you hit training at midday in your lunch break, for example, you'll be in ketosis. By the time you then finish up training, have your fluid throughout the afternoon, a cup of tea or something, it's getting back to dinner time at that 5 or 6 o'clock, which again puts you into that 12 by 12 eating window, which someone like Dr. Terry Wiles, an incredible medical professional, that's one of her ways that she propagates for being most effective for intermittent fasting, and I'm a big fan of hers. She's a fantastic lady. So that's one way to do it for those who really like their morning breakfast, who want that morning energy, who like to go to work feeling full, who can train during the middle of the day. And you can use that to break up your week of intermittent fasting as well, just slightly changing it. Option number 5, and I'm going to just stretch your time here, Joe, and give you 7 options today, if that's all right, because I like to be in depth with my approach. And again, please excuse me rushing through this. Option number 5, for those who want the increased morning energy, those who get hungry after training. So I know some people train and they're immediately ravenous. For myself, I train and I'm generally not hungry for a while afterwards. And those who like to do weightlifting and thus require some increased protein post-training. So you're going to get up, you're going to train on an empty tummy because that's just good for you. We can come back to that another time. And then I want you to consume a large breakfast. So you would have, more protein than usual because post-training, you can have an increased protein synthesis rate. So what that means is your body absorbs more protein. If any time during the day, protein, you're not going to absorb more than about 20 grams. Post-training, you can go anywhere up to 50 or 60 grams, depending on your style of training, of protein that you'll absorb. So it's called your protein synthesis rate. So get up, train, have a big breakfast, hydrate well. 3 to 4 hours later, you'll be into ketosis because you'll take your packet of ketones, and then you'll cruise throughout your day. You'll have a really good energy supply all morning from having trained and then having eaten and then having consumed. Your ketones will give you that fantastic cognitive strength to really push through your afternoon. So if you find you crash in the afternoon, this is a great one for you. Push through the afternoon, get home, and then have a fantastic dinner, lots of vegetables, meats, good fats, and then wake up and repeat the next day. And that's a really good way for those who train in the morning. Option 6 is a little bit of a more nuanced approach. So if somebody is suffering from really bad sleep issues, that can often be a result of too much glutamate in the brain. It can also be blood sugar issues during the night. You'll be fast asleep and your blood sugar levels will drop and it startles you with a spike of adrenaline. And we know that exogenous ketones can increase your adenosine, can increase your GABA to glutamate ratio, so they're going to keep you calm, help you get to sleep, but they're also going to give you a really stable supply of energy to your brain for several hours. So we can get these people having a really good sleep. And this is particularly effective for, I find, in my humble opinion, people with anxiety and depression. Now, anxiety and depression, one of its most common symptoms, one of its most hated symptoms for those people who suffer from anxiety and depression is a profound lack of sleep. Insomnia and anxiety and depression is just this vicious cycle. One causes the other causes the other. It's chicken and egg, which one comes first, who knows, but they're all horrible. So if we can, really break that cycle by giving them a really good night's sleep being, one of the most important things you can ever do, then that's going to really help them. I also use this for people who are doing some international travel, so crossing multiple time zones, taking those ketones, caffeine free. I'm not sure I need to mention that, but just in case, to really sort of, they can do it as soon as they get there before they head to bed or first thing upon waking. So that's a really effective way there for sleep, anxiety, depression. I find that when I've used that with some of my clients, it's been particularly effective, without going into individual prescriptive medicines, which again, don't get over the counter stuff. Get a professional like Dr. Atia from Dr. Andrea that we heard at Charge. Someone like her prescribing for you. That's what you need. Um, Now, the final one is my therapeutic use. So this is if someone has some severe health issues, diabetes, autoimmune disorders, quite severe mental health issues, chronic fatigue, all those sorts of things. We're looking at a therapeutic dose here, and I know that that's often stated on the Prove It website, but basically you'll take a packet of ketones first thing in the morning. We then, about 4 to 5 hours after that, get you eating some food, again, low carbohydrate, looking at lots of vegetables, salad, adequate protein and mixed protein, so fish, eggs, meat, whatever it takes your fancy. And then about 2 to 3, 4 hours after that, after your blood sugar levels have stabilized, we then take a second packet of ketones, which will then push you right through to a dinner, and you can then consume a dinner between sort of 6 to 7 o'clock at night, based on your time zone during the day of when you had ketones, lunch, ketones, etc. And that you then consume a nice a light dinner, low carbs, good fats, good proteins, before heading off to hopefully a nice early night. So often with those 2 packets, we build up to that. We start at 1, and then after a couple of days, when that's been easily absorbed and easily taken without any GI distress, I found that to be particularly effective in some clients that have had blood sugar issues, pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes, and that's been really effective for them.
Very cool. Very cool. So that, and I mean, you say kind of the best for last there, because I mean, certainly, there's so many people out there with blood sugar issues. There's so many people out there with autoimmunes, looking for relief from something. I mean, like, look at the message there is like, this can fit in with any lifestyle, right? It can fit in with any schedule. It basically, like, who are you in your practice with your clients? Are you recommending this to everyone?
Yeah, pretty much. Sorry, I am. Look, I never used to, and just because I wasn't sure, how to just do this blanket approach, because they kept saying to me, well, how come it's working for this? Because you said the other guy works for this and it works for him for this. And I just, it covers so many different bases that you can recommend it to everyone. All that I change specifically is just kind of how to best fit it into their lifestyle, and some minor factors along those lines. But look, I'm starting for the first time ever, recommend a supplement. I haven't for the past 17 years of working as a masseur and an acupuncturist and a Chinese medicine doctor. I maybe prescribe some individual herbs back in the day, but very rarely I didn't. But now I certainly do. And I feel confident in doing that, and that means a lot to me, because after 17 years in the natural medicine business, with all the extra study I've done, you don't have much left in the bank after that. All you have is just your brand and your credibility and a love for what you do. And I'm never going to compromise that, and I can't stress that enough to people. So I recommend this happily, because I can help more people.
Awesome, buddy. Well, listen, I know we don't want to go too long. Now, if people do have questions, and hey, Nicole, hey, Tamara, that's a great point. So Tamara said, oh my God, Chris, thank you. Can we get a printout of that info? You just overloaded their brain. There's a lot of brains that are exploding right now, but we've actually got someone, we thought ahead, and we knew that Chris was going to say some very smart things that were going to be very interesting to a lot of people. So we've actually got somebody that's transcribing this as we go,
Cool.
and we'll put those we'll put the transcriptions into the post with the live, so everybody
Cool.
can follow along and go to different moments and check out each of one of his different 7 recommendations there. And then if you do have any questions about it, feel free and drop them in the comments, you know, even if it's in the recording, and we'll take a look at them and see if we can get any questions answered as well. And yeah, give this guy some love. Look at that. Like literally,
Thank you.
we just got, this is what, you know, people all over are paying him for. And we just got it absolutely free of charge. Chris, that was absolutely amazing, buddy.
Thanks.
And yeah, and guys, look, if you thought that Chris, you know, was pretty smart here, then go check him out online. I mean, there is tons of information, and he's going live with all sorts of people just to share the knowledge about this stuff. So you can get this, you can get knowledge on a whole bunch of different topics from Chris. Follow him, thehealthandfitnessguy.com.au, Facebook, Instagram, everything. Chris Miller, thanks so much, buddy.
No worries. Thanks so much, everyone, for listening to me ramble on so fast. Sorry about the rapid fire, but thank you for having me so much.
No problem, bud. And I wish that I know we were going to do a workout this weekend. Hopefully, you're still going to do one with Brian Johnson, are you?
I've got Brian. I've got
Yeah.
I've got a few people lined up next Wallaby and a couple of other guys. I think post-Commonwealth Games I'm waiting to hear back from. So we'll see how we go. So putting it all up onto the website.
Very cool. So, and anybody that's in the Gold Coast, Nobby's Beach tomorrow morning, Chris, if you want to drive down, we are doing yoga around the time the sun is rising, 6 a.m. out front of the Nobby's Beach Surf Club. That's what we do. Just free movement, exercise, knowledge, education for everyone. Chris, thanks again, buddy. Everybody that's watching, give Chris some more love as we sign off. Everybody have a absolutely fantastic day.
Thank you so much.
See you guys.